Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Shivaradari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradhari
Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana
Yamuna Tira Banachari
Yamuna Tira Banachari
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitya Gora Haribo 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 Nitya Gora Haribo Nitya Gora Haribo 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 Nitya Gora Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Mother Krsnanandini. This is Anusuya.
Hare Krishna.
Accept my obeisances always of Prabhupada, Mother. How are you?
I'm blessed by the best, sweetie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry for getting on late. My PC was acting up.
No explanations necessary.
Talk about advanced technology. But I want to welcome all the devotees who have taken their time and on a Sunday afternoon to be part of Sunday Zoom program. I see a lot of devotees, and I'm very happy to see so many devotees. And I know that we're going to see more devotees because it's hearing from Mother Krsnanandini is beyond a spiritual gem. And we are very fortunate to have Mother Krsnanandini with us. For those of us who may not know her as well, it's like writing we have to write a book on Mother Krsnanandini to actually say who she is and all that she has done for ISKCON. But she is definitely an amazing example to many of us, all of us. And I would want to add to, especially for the women, because she definitely sets a wonderful example for all the women in ISKCON and how to really cross all the battles in life and still be a shining light for Prabhupada, and how to still stand steadfast and no matter what is happening around us, have to focus on Prabhupada. And that has been my inspiration from Mother Krsnanandini. And whenever I think of Mother Krsnanandini, I cannot help but think of Mother Kamagiri.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Two peas in a pod, wonderful spiritual peas in a pod, because I remember the first time I met you and Mother Kamagiri was in '94 in Washington, D.C. For my initiation. And ever since then, up until I saw Mother Kamagiri last year, whenever she sees me anyway in any festival, the first thing she will tell me is, "You made your Gurudev cry." And she always told me that. I'm thinking, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But she always, every time she sees me, she always tells me that, and it's such a nice reminder from her that I made him cry. I'm still trying to figure out, why I did that way. But Mother Krsnanandini, we are eagerly waiting to hear from you. Please take it over. And
all right. Thank you, Anasuya Devi.
thank you, Mother.
I really appreciate you, and I appreciate the invite and all the devotees. And I really am grateful that Srila Prabhupada is allowing me to somehow or other be a small instrument in his mission. And I want to say a gratefulness to my other dear spiritual mentors and gurus, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I don't really have a lot of words to express just how much Bhakti Tirtha Swami is a treasure to all of us and to all the world, and what he gave and what he did. But he was especially my big brother and my friend and confidant, actually. And I jokingly tell the story, but it's actually true that Bhakti Tirtha Swami gave myself and my husband about 30 years ago or more premarital education. He worked with us before we got married. And I want to also say all glories to my mother, Bhumata Devi Dasi, another shining star in my progress in God consciousness and spiritual life. And to my husband, Tavik Salim Ziad, as well. These are the stalwarts that have helped me to push on in Krishna consciousness and helped me to be where I am today, as well as all of the assembly of devotees and the loving well-wishers and families that we had. So I just want to say thank you to them. And we're going to read a scripture from the Srimad Bhagavatam to kind of give us a springboard to speak on whatever the topic is that the Lord wants us to speak on today. And it's called Instructions by Maharaj Prithu. And it's Canto 4, Chapter 21, Text 24. And we already did the Jaya Radha Madhava, so we'll just say, go into the Sanskrit here. Again, it's, oh wow, good. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah. Udavekaram Raja Prajadharmeshu Ashikshayan Prajanam Samalam Bhunkte Bhagam cha swam jahati sa. Again, ya udare karam raja prajadameshu ashikshayan prajanam shamalam bhunkte bhagam cha swam jahati sa. Ya, anyone, king or governor, udare, exact, karam, taxes, raja, king, praja, the citizens, dharmeshu, in executing their respective duties, ashikshayan, without teaching them how to execute their respective duties, prajanam, of the citizens, shamalam, impious, bhunkte, enjoys, bhagam, fortune, cha, also, swam, own, jahati, gives up, saha, that king. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Sri Swami Prabhupada. Any king who does not teach his citizens about their respective duties in terms of varna and ashram, but who simply exacts tolls and taxes from them, is liable to suffer for the impious activities which have been performed by the citizens. In addition to such degradation, the king also loses his own fortune. And we'll repeat that again. Any king who does not teach his citizens about their respective duties in terms of varna and ashram, but who simply exacts tolls and taxes from them, is liable to suffer for the impious activities which have been performed by the citizens. In addition to such degradation, the king also loses his own fortune. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, or glories to Srila Prabhupada. A king, governor, or president should not take the opportunity to occupy his post without discharging his duty. He must teach the people within the state how to observe the divisions of varna and ashram. If a king neglects to give such instructions and is simply satisfied with levying taxes, then those who share in the collection, very important scripture too, namely all the government servants and the head of the state, are liable to share in the impious activities of the general masses. The laws of nature are very subtle. For example, if one eats in a place which is very sinful, he shares in the resultant reaction of the sinful activities performed there. It is a Vedic system, therefore, for a householder to call Brahmins and Vaishnavas to eat at ceremonial performances in his house, because the Brahmins and Vaishnavas can immunize him from sinful activities. But it is not the duty of rigid Brahmins and Vaishnavas to accept invitations everywhere. There is, of course, no objection to taking part in feasts in which prasad is distributed. There are many subtle laws which are practically unknown to people in general, but the Krishna consciousness movement is very scientifically distributing all this Vedic knowledge for the benefit of the people of the world. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And we'll do the Mangala Charan prayers. Om Janati Mirandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Sahagana Raghunathan Tan, Vidham Tam Sajivam, Sadvaitam Savadutam, Parajana Sahitam, Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita Shri Vikas Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho, Dina Bando Jagat Pate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Garangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshvari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Shikadadhar Shivasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So once again, I thank you all for allowing me to share, and I pray your blessings that somehow or other my spiritual master may speak through me, and it may cause all of us to be more spiritually enlivened and more inspired. So in this particular text, Srila Prabhupada is explaining how that the head of the government is a very responsible post. And, you know, we have a lot of people who want to be heads of something. They want to be leaders because of the prestige or the money or the fame that it may bring. But with every leadership position, there is a responsibility. And many people don't realize that because life is a science, you know, this is a science, that it's nothing haphazard or accidental. So if someone becomes a leader, the price they pay for that is to accept at least 1/6 of the karma of the people you are leading. So imagine the horrendous problems that will ensue based on our leadership in today's world. I mean, we're faced with so many crises today, and people are just so confused and bewildered and sad and depressed. And, you know, how fortunate we are that we've been given this scientific process of Krishna consciousness to understand the truth of who we are and what life is about and what the consequences of things are and that kind of thing. So it behooves us to really understand the science and really live it and really put it into practice, because for everything there is a corresponding reaction. So every day that we get up, whatever activities we engage in, whatever we do, there's some reaction to those activities. And if we do it according to the science, then the reaction is either beneficial or beyond that, transcendentally beneficial, which is what the Krishna consciousness movement is all about. When Prabhupada brought this movement to America as a visionary, he envisioned that this movement would save the world. And because Prabhupada was the supreme spiritual warrior, the supreme spiritual scientist, he understood that unless humanity did an about face, then we were all going straight to Kali Yuga's end really much quicker than Kali Yuga. So out of great love for us, Lord Chaitanya has interrupted this Kali Yuga. But the expectation for us as Vaishnavas or aspiring Vaishnavas is that we become those leaders, that we become those people who take charge, that we become those people who administer, that we become those people who give examples. And because unless there is righteous leadership, then you're going to continually have all these problems. And the beauty of what Prabhupada did, in short, if we go back, you know, Prabhupada organized the International Society for Krishna Consciousness about 50 years ago, and just see, even though we see all the ugly things in the world and all the terrible, but there's so many results of Prabhupada's taking his position as a spiritual leader. And we see, like what I was sharing with someone not too long ago, when I was a new devotee, there was no such thing as a vegetarian restaurant hardly, or vegetarian or vegan. And now it's all over the world, you know, where people by the thousands are literally giving up animal flesh. And that can directly be attributed to Prabhupada and his bringing this Krishna consciousness movement to the West. Also yoga and kirtan and so many things. And now we're in a crisis in the world, which is really a good opportunity for us as devotees, whatever our situation is, because once you have the science and you apply the science, this science is empowering. So every day that we get up and we chant Hare Krishna sincerely, you are understand and appreciate that this mantra is going around the world creating change. Now, when things change, they don't always look pretty. That's the thing we got to realize. Sometimes for change, it gets really ugly looking. But change is in the air because the Lord has decreed. And so for a Vaishnava, we don't look at things actually in an ordinary way, because we try to see Krishna's hands in everything, you know, in whatever happens to us and whatever happens to the world. So the responsibility for an aspiring Vaishnava is to become Krishna conscious and to help others become Krishna conscious. And becoming Krishna conscious is no small thing, as we all know. It takes a lot to become Krishna conscious, because what we're doing is stripping away layers of lifetimes of false identification with the body. And we bring all that baggage right into wherever we come. You know, when we were new devotees, we always was so excited and so anxious because we thought, oh, wow, we're in this beautiful philosophy and everybody's a pure devotee. And little did we know that pure devotion, that was more than just 2 words, I tell you. And so we had to learn. But the good news is that if one is very sincere and very serious, one becomes eligible to come in the inner chambers of God. And this is what Prabhupada, Bhakti-tirtha Swami, all these great spiritual leaders wanted us to invite us to come, go deeper, go deeper. And this is such a special age where it doesn't really matter what your body is. If you take up the responsibility of leadership, which is such a cry, you can be a woman, you can be a man, you can be black, you can be white, you can be Asian, whatever. If you take up this responsibility, Lord Chaitanya is God. He could have done this whole thing, but he wanted that his devotees would get the credit for changing the scope of the earth. So how do we do that? How do we do that? We have to first be very honest with ourselves and very, we can't be cheaters. Krishna consciousness will expose you, actually, if you're a cheater. Because, well, it's like Prabhupada gives example, like when you're shaving, you have to be very careful. Krishna consciousness is like a razor's edge. If you're not careful, you'll cut yourself. So for those who are cheaters, they'll cut themselves and they'll be revealed. But here we have leaders all over the world who, because they're not like Prithvi Maharaj, because they are just after exploiting people. And we don't realize, because the science explains how everything is connected. So if I hurt another living entity, I will feel that hurt myself, actually more than the hurt that I put on that living entity. And that's just the law. That's just the science of the material world. And so nobody gets away with anything. But for us as aspiring Vaishnavas, we want to be empowered, as Bhakti Swami calls us, the school of love, and sometimes we think of that word love is supposed to be sweet and soft, but love can be very intense. And when Krishna loves a person and begins to shape them for a particular role, sometimes that love seems very intense. And there's a poem called When Nature Wants to Make a Man, how she shakes a man and breaks a man and takes him down to his lowest ebb. So this happens in spiritual life, and sometimes that's a little scary for devotees because we want everything to more or less appear positive. And so sometimes when we're going through these negatives and these hardships, it just doesn't seem like that is love. But if you understand that Krishna's hand is in everything and he's doing everything, and everything that happens to us in our life is to help us become closer to our real self and to help us become instruments to bring about transformation in the world. So in the scriptures say no one should become a leader. No one should become a mother, a father, a teacher, mother, father, teacher, guru, or leader of any kind, unless they're willing and able to help their constituents or children or disciples through material life, help them understand who they really are. That's our role as parents, as teachers, as gurus, as leaders. So anytime the leader is not doing that, that person is held very responsible, and he will have to suffer, or she, very hellish consequences. And this is what Prithvi Maharaj is saying. We have a responsibility as parents, as teachers, as leaders, to make sure we teach the science of life and living to our constituents. And he's explaining what happens when you don't do that. It's an interesting time in our movement. I was reading a letter where I think it was the GBC, they wrote an apology of some kind to the devotees in South Africa of color. And I thought it was really, really a good first step, because here we are in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which should be the epitome of what it looks like to love and to serve and to treat everybody right, but we're not actually doing that. And so what I am sensing is that the Lord himself is requiring some change. He's exposing things, he's bringing things out and causing us to reevaluate. What is Krishna consciousness? What did Prabhupada give us? What did he sacrifice his life for? What did Bhakti Tirtha Swami lie on his bed for? So that we can be in communities of kindness, in communities of hope, in communities of care, in communities of respect. Prabhupada said, I have come to make you happy, the whole world. And that is our role as followers of Srila Prabhupada. We're supposed to make people happy. And so within our movement, if we have examples of mistreatment of women and children and men, and just because of their color or gender, this is bad leadership, and it will get some very, very bad responses. So what is our role? Again, our role is to be an example. We get up every day and we chant and we beg the Lord. We call that Hare Krishna mantra, like our life depends on it, because it does in so many ways. This is a very crucial point in the history of the world. You know, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I saw National Guard trucks roll down my street that I lived on. My brother was shot in the back 3 times by a policeman for nothing. We marched with protesters and that kind of thing. But that was, all of this was before I was given the blessing and the mercy of Krishna consciousness to help me make sense of what is the cause of all this suffering and all this fighting. I mean, our goal is, we don't want to every 50 years in our country have another riot protest movement. And so what will make the difference is heart change, truthfulness, and really devotees living our philosophy that we say we have. And we have to examine ourselves, because, you know, that's not easy. All of us have little prejudice and things and stuff, and we have to go inside. Like, are we pretending? Like, when we finish this life, what do we want to do next? Do we want to go back with Radha and Krishna, or at least go to a place where we're serving Radha and Krishna in with devotees? Or do we want to just go to, like, the heavenly planets with Lord Indra and Chandra and live for 10,000 more years with luxuries and stuff like that? So we have to ask ourselves, what is our goal? And all of us should become leaders for Krishna, leaders for Prabhupada, leaders for Lord Chaitanya in our own way, in our own sphere. Everybody won't do it the same way. But if we take up this determination, like Arjuna was told, to fight for the sake of fighting without being attached to whatever the results are. Arjuna didn't want to fight. Arjuna wanted to just, everything to be not like normal, or just not make any waves, no ripples. But Krishna wanted ripples. He wanted waves. He wanted a war. This is God, to get righteousness reestablished on the earth. And so now we find ourselves as a modern day Arjunas, and many of us don't want to fight, but we have to fight. And this fight doesn't mean just going out getting a gun and killing somebody. First, it means understanding what is the battle. It means understanding who we are and then what our role is. It means aligning ourselves with other God-conscious people who are ready to fight for righteousness and principle and healthy community. So that's, you know, it's some work to be done. But the kindness of the Lord is such that if anybody has any desire, there's a song we used to sing in the church. If the Lord wants somebody, here am I, I'll go. I may not be qualified. I may not be fit. I may not be as smart as everybody, but Lord, if you want me, I'll go. And that going means to accept the guidelines and instructions from the scriptures, from the guru, and to take a stand for righteousness. Take a stand for truth. Take a stand for cleanliness. Take a stand. And so right now we're all quarantined and we're separated. So we have to be kind of creative and innovative in the way that we operate. But, you know, a lot of good things are happening, like with these Zoom and online presentations. People are having an opportunity to experience a lot more connection with other devotees. We're having an opportunity to hear the pain of other devotees. We have an opportunity to, again, like I say, examine ourselves and see where we are on this piece of fairness and justice and righteousness and goodness. Sometimes when we're not the ones directly affected, then a person won't step out. But if someone is what did Martin Luther King say? He said, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. So we're all affected by this injustice. And the good news is we have good weapons. We have the Hare Krishna mantra. We have association with devotees. We have the scriptures. We have the ability to, offer our food to God and eat purified food. It was mentioned in this purport that if you eat food in a sinful place, you have to take sinful results. So as spiritual scientists, it's our job to understand these kinds of things so that we do things in a scientifically, spiritual, scientific way that will be of, Prabhupada said, if we take up this role as aspiring Vaishnavas, he said it will do good, this is what his guru told him, it will do good for us and good for others. And that was the whole point that Prabhupada was about. He wanted what was good for us and what was good for others. And true spiritual life is good for everybody. And so here, Prithu Maharaj, any king, any leader who doesn't teach his subordinates about their duties, then he will simply gets benefit, like we have these leaders today, all these taxes and more taxes. He's saying these leaders are going to suffer for the impious activities that the citizens have performed. In addition to being degraded, these leaders will lose their own fortune. And so it's very important that we see ourselves somehow or other in the role of Arjuna, in the role of Prithu Maharaj, take some responsibility in Prabhupada's movement so that we can be agents of transformation in the world. And we don't have to be afraid of what people think. Some people will like us and some people won't like us. What did Bhakti Tirtha Swami say? He said, if nobody's complaining about you, you're not doing the right thing, because this is the material world. I hope I paraphrased him correctly, Rashalila. This is the material world, and it's made for people to have sides. And if they want to choose to be not for God, they can choose that. And if they want to be for God, they can choose that. But by the grace of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, he's decreed that somehow or other, the next thousands of years will be a golden age. But this is not magic. It's not that Krishna is going to come down here and put a magic wand on everybody and change it. It's because devotees will take leadership roles and they will be examples and they will show and they will be empowered and things will get better and better, because wherever there is sincere devotion, things get better and better. That's how you know it. That's how you can know about Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Wherever he went, people became enlivened. They had hope. That's how you know about Prabhupada. Wherever he went, that place, improvement happened. So that's not just for these great souls like that, but for us as well. In our families, in our community, in our cities, we are to be that light. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And we have to sometimes carefully confront our leadership in our movement respectfully. I told my children, I said, you can get angry with me, you can get upset with me, but you always must respect me, because this is the order that Krishna gave. So sometimes we have to challenge some of our traditions that are not for the healthiness and betterment of the people in the community, and be okay with that. But as long as we do it in a respectful way, as long as we do it without enmity, as long as we do it as a well-wisher, we want even the worst demon to know the truth. We want even like Lord Nityananda with Jagai and Madhai. That's the mood. And the more that we get in that mood, the more that the world will become a better place. So all of these things that are happening now, it's just really an opportunity for the aspiring devotee, the aspiring Vaishnava, the aspiring believer, or Christian or Muslim, to find a way to take the opportunity that Krishna is providing to share the science of God, to share the science of living and life with others, and to be bold in that sharing. You know, I didn't think of it as bold at first, but when we moved in this house, we live in North Carolina now, and it has a few acres, about a couple acres of land, a lot of trees, a lot of really nice things. And it's a little community, I want to say with at least maybe about 50 families. And we wanted to do a house blessing. So they had this little email list that everybody in the community, there's a community organization here, and they came and welcomed us. And she gave me the email list for everybody. And so what we did was, we said, we sent an email to everybody. We said, Hare Krishna, Assalamu Alaikum. We are your new neighbors, and we are inviting you to come to a house blessing. We look forward to meeting you and spending time with you, and we are going to give you a delicious vegetarian feast. And so people are saying, wow, Krsnanandini, you said Hare Krishna and Assalamu Alaikum, and most of our people, in fact, maybe everybody except us, or maybe white-bodied people in this area. And so do you all know that almost all the neighbors came? This house was packed. I mean, we had the living room, the dining room, the sunroom, the porch. And it was just such a sweet thing. And we tried to really do it kind of first class. You know, we had the children serving and welcoming people. And we had this prasadam, you know. And we had asked Mother Urmila to come and give the talk. And she said, what will I say, Krsnanandini? I said, girl, you know what to say. But I said, these are mostly new people, you know, so figure it out. But boy, her talk was so perfect, you know. So just that, I mean, people said that was bold, but I didn't think that was so bold. But look, it got people to know, and they knew we were Hare Krishnas and Muslim. And we had a little kirtan here. So that was our way of sort of introducing ourselves to the community. After that, you know, I got the news that the cancer had come back. And so then I went to India. So we haven't had so much follow-up. I mean, although we see the neighbors and they all speak and it's very pleasant. And they'll say, oh, I came to your house blessing, you know, like that. So anyway, just as people who want to share Krishna, who want to share God, that was something we thought we could do. So I think I'll stop here and see if there are any questions or comments or anything else you all wanted to talk about.
Thank you so much, Mother Krsnanandini. We could just go on and on and on listening to you. And that will be our breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and night snack and everything. I know for me, I do feel that way. Thank you so much. I can't even believe how much time flew by, but I want to request devotees, if you have any questions, to please unmute yourself, ask and mute back. That way it doesn't cause any background interference and whatsoever. So anybody can go first, just unmute and ask your question and mute back, please.
Or comment.
There's gotta be some questions, guys. Come on.
Or comment.
Or comment.
This always takes a little while with everyone with programs. So I figure I'd step in since the pause is going a little long. I just want to thank you so much for you being an example to everyone, because you know, your body is not of course it's not in the best of shape in the sense of a physical body.
And that's an understatement, Rajalila.
Yeah, at the same time, I do believe that your lesson to all of us in terms of not being the body is that you show us how alive your soul is. you know, just being more than the body or not the body, whatever, you know, you're showing us that the soul is so alive that it can take that body and do anything with it. So I'm just really grateful for you just making yourself available as you've been doing. It's just such a beautiful example of someone that's, you know, showing what the dying process can be like. And yeah, so I'm grateful for that. I had a couple of questions. You shared so many beautiful points about leadership. And I guess one of the first points I was thinking about is you mentioned that if we don't have exemplary leaders, then, and this is not the exact words you use, but it's something like this: things will somehow fall apart, right? It just, if leaders aren't exemplifying some of these amazing qualities that you talked about, yet we see that in our institution that we have a history of leaders that may not have been as exemplary. At the same time, our movement expands like anything. It's constantly expanding. So how do we understand that?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good one, Rajalila. We understand that because this movement is definitely a divine movement. And it is when Krishna, God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord of all the worlds and universes, when he sends someone to create a revolution, that person is very, very empowered and very, very uniquely prepared for their service. And so we just happen to fall in a line of very stalwart spiritual teachers. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Gaura Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada came to do the concluding work of starting this worldwide movement. So this is a divine movement. And because there are so many people in this movement who are very sincere, Rajalila, that is the dynamism or the soul of the movement. And because it is God's will that this movement go on to save the world, and because there are lessons that had to be learned. I mean, we learned from these leaders that fell and did these things, and you know, in the beginning of any new movement, when you're going through the beginning stage and you're growing up from being a baby to being a teenager and then a young adult. So this Hare Krishna movement is like that. But because it is divine, because it is Krishna's direct will, because Prabhupada came and gave his benediction to the world, that's why it's still expanding. And because there are so many sincere people in this movement. So we have to understand that when there is an empowered representative of God, they also empower others. Otherwise, then what's the meaning of them, whatever they do? Like, you know, if you have a pure devotee and they can't make pure devotees, and so Prabhupada has made so many pure devotees in the world. Maybe they're not in positions of leaderships, but in their own spheres, they're doing some kind of exemplary work, whether it's in their home or their community or whatever. And so for those reasons, this movement will expand and continue expanding. Now, Prabhupada did give a caveat. He said, nobody can destroy this movement, only from within. In other words, it's almost like the Yadu dynasty. Nobody could kill them. They had to kill themselves, you know, so they fought amongst themselves and killed each other. And that too was Krishna's arrangement. So Lord Chaitanya has decreed that there will be a golden age. And whatever the Lord decrees happens. And because there was so much empowerment or so much purity in Prabhupada, in Bhakti Siddhanta, in Bhakti Tirtha Swami, that purity is being passed on and it's being affected. And we had lessons to learn, and we had to become braver and bolder. And so all of that is really kind of Krishna's plan. So I hope that answered it. Raja?
That I was unmuted. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And you're one of those examples. You talked about many. However, for me, I believe that and I'm speaking personally, because I understand that process of leaving the body and making yourself available and how difficult that can be. And so for me, that is leadership. That's actual leadership, because you are in two worlds, and you're trying to help people to understand those two worlds. So I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Prabhu. And part of this is about, getting to know God, getting to learn all about him. Like Prabhupada said, I can tell you God, I can give you his address, I can give you his phone number, So the reality of practicing Krishna consciousness is that we are getting to know God. We're reconnecting with Krishna in an intimate way, where we don't see him as some faraway personality, but he becomes directly, personally a part of our day-to-day movements and life. And that's the whole point of Krishna consciousness, is getting to know the Supreme Lover. And so for me in this process with the cancer and the disease and everything, you think you practice Krishna consciousness a little bit and you think you have some sense of God, but you get to go a little deeper, well, at least in my case, with this. Because then, God is a person, and a person has personal interaction. And so, when you call out with this personal, request or connection, and you get to know, is God real? What I had a devotee talk to me the other day, and she was in tears, and she was saying, Mata, I don't know if all this is real yet. So the whole point in Krishna consciousness is to know this is real, that Krishna is real, he's in me, he's a part of me, I love him, I'm connected with all the other parts. And this is what did Bhakti just say, a school of love. You get these lessons and you learn them, So, and then you learn that I am not controlling one thing, I am not owning one thing, and it's good to get that lesson. It really is.
Thank you.
If there are any questions, you can definitely unmute yourself and ask and mute back on. I think we had someone that had a question just now.
Haribol, Mother. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
You're definitely a great inspiration, for me and my family. I guess my question is, with so much that's happening in the world today, and yes, we keep the philosophy that we are not this body, as aspiring devotees, but sometimes it's very hard to separate from that and wanting the world to be a better place for your children and a safer place, and that feel that maybe you need to be more of an activist in your community, but also balance the fact that, yes, the philosophy is we are not this body, and this is not, we have a greater purpose in this life. So I guess it's like, how do you strike that balance, that delicate balance where, for people like myself that feel the pain of what's going on, but yet knowing the philosophy that we are not this body?
That's a very good question, Prabhu, and it's been being asked over and over again. There's a saying, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. So the truth is we're not the body, but yet we're in the body. And that's a very important realization, that we weren't just given these bodies indiscriminately. You know, some people have a white body, an Indian body, a black body. There's a reason. And to be able to see the body, whatever you have, is a gift. That's a little hard, especially when you're in the oppressed community. But the thing that you want to develop as part of the science is to see, how do I use whatever body I've been given in Krishna's service? How do I use whatever situation I am in Krishna's service? And I find that part of it is being aware. I don't think we should be ignorant about what's going on. Like I said, I grew up and my brother was shot in the back 3 times by a policeman. I told that to my children. I told them the story of our history. And I think it's important they know that you know, people, Black people have struggled and been oppressed in this country for years and what they went through. But at the same time, you want to give them a way that gives them hope that things will be better. And that spiritual science is actually the hope, because no law can make people treat you right. And we've seen it. We've had laws 50 years ago passed, and people are still being mistreated. And then they'll think of other laws so they can mistreat you. So what has to happen is a change of heart in Black people and white people and Indian people and everybody. And so this Krishna consciousness is really changing the heart. But at the same time, we have to be aware that, you know, in the preaching field, you're not an Uttama Adhikari, you're not on the highest level, although you may be, but you come down to the middle level so you can preach. And in that middle level, you make distinctions. These people are favorable, these are not. So I will, you know, give time and energy to the favorable. Although some devotees just take a risk and go to the unfavorable too, because they're so, you know, paraduka duki. They want to see people happy no matter what. So I think being truthful with our children, but at the same time, encouraging them to see the body as a gift and seeing how can I use whatever body I'm in as a service for the Lord. I know we were, in the beginning, when we were new devotees, because there were hardly any Black body devotees, maybe when my mother and I became devotees, maybe it was 10, I don't even know if it was that many. I mean, there was hardly any. And so in the beginning, you know, we were writing Prabhupada that these devotees, some of them were prejudiced. And Prabhupada, I think we may have written him a couple of letters about that, maybe 2 or 3. And then he wrote us back and he said, you know, because Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he said a similar thing. He said, if someone mistreats you because of the color of your skin, that's their ignorance. And I think we should tell our children and let them know that that's a very ignorant position to be in. But Prabhupada also said a very strong point, which has helped me over the years. And he said, if you accept it, it's also your ignorance. And I realized that I had been accepting it, not kowtowing anything, but just in the way that I reacted. So then, after I cried a little bit from the letter that Prabhupada sent, it hit me that Prabhupada was trying to help me go further and go deeper. And so thereafter, I could respond in a different way when people were with their prejudicial ways and means, and I could, it was quite liberating, actually. So I think the thing is that we want to see not only our hearts transform, but other people's hearts transform. And this Sankirtan movement is doing that. I was sharing with someone, I don't get out much and I rarely listen to the news because right now that's not my focus. But I have a sense that change is in the air, and it's a change of heart for many people. That they don't like this. They don't like seeing people mistreated either. And they kind of have a sense that if we don't all kind of do something better, we're all going to be stuck in the dirt. So just being truthful and carrying yourself in such a way that you see what's happening and you know what side you're on, and at the same time, and you should speak up about things. I'm not saying we shouldn't speak up, because that's very important if you don't speak up, but always do it in a way that will get some lesson learned, something not out of anger or revenge, but something that people can walk away with and grow with. This is actually a very good time for all of us, especially those who are connected to a real spirituality, whether they're in a Black body or Indian body or a white body. This is a time for us to really see who we are. And are we, that's the fundamental lesson in Bhagavad Gita. I'm not the body. And yet, a lot of us are not there, whether we're white or Black. So the idea now is to figure out, how do I share with my children and others the truth in such a way that we all grow? And I think that's where we are now. And I hope that was helpful.
Hi, Mother Krsnanandini.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So my question comes from this idea of the taboo within ISKCON, and I think that there are a lot of things that, again, we know as devotees that it is, spiritual people, that it is important to treat everybody like you see the Paramatma in them, and that you see the spirit soul. And so I think obviously on a theological level, we understand that. And yet, there, again, as we've, have shared here, there's some difficulty in when it is practiced. And again, we're not saying that, we should try to force anybody to change, but something that I have been really interested in, and also kind of conflicted about within my own kind of personal spiritual journey, and especially as it relates to ISKCON, is this idea that we have this kind of don't ask, don't tell kind of mentality when it comes to topics that have to do with injustice based on treating people differently due to whatever bodily condition, whether it is race, whether it is their sexual identity, whether it's gender expression, whether it is their whether they're in a female body or not. There has been instances where, and again, I'm not saying I'm a spiritual, like I'm advanced or anything. So when I see something that I see as unjust and that is being perpetrated against somebody because of this thing, I feel like a lot of the feedback has been, don't talk about it, just let it happen. Don't try to, don't try to rabble rouse, don't try to say anything, just be calm, let it happen, and somehow change will happen. And I fundamentally disagree with that in the sense that change happens if we take action. And I think that, and again, and this is me talking from a very, materialistic covering. I'm not advanced in that way. But my question is, for people who are understanding that this injustice is happening, and we're speaking up because we want to see positive change. We want people to feel welcome. We want people to feel like they have a place. And yet we're being told that we shouldn't speak up because this is not the way to do so. What do you say to that? And what is the best way that you would advise to continue to stand up and fight for people who maybe are being ignored, and not maybe necessarily out of kind of active maliciousness, but with this idea that if we ignore you, you'll go away or you won't make a difference. And I think that's my question.
Ignoring something has never made it go away. And even when Prabhupada wrote us that, and he told us that liberating statement, it wasn't because he did not acknowledge that there was that kind of stuff going on in the movement. Prabhupada was very aware, but he also was very convinced about the potency of this science, that if we actually took it to heart and actually practiced and actually understood it, that it would bring us up so much in empowerment and ability to make change. And he didn't want us to get too focused on the wrong thing where we wouldn't grow and we just get angry and, you know, eventually go away, which happens. But sometimes, yeah, you have to speak out sometimes, and you have to do it with wisdom and do it with boldness and do it out of a sincere desire for change, not only for you, but for the other people that are involved. And when you have that kind of combination, then will happen. You know, like this whole thing about women being gurus and ISKCON, you know, it's a big thing. It's like the elephant in the room sometimes. You know, and yesterday I heard where three of the senior gurus in the movement actually publicly stated that they were for it, with the little caveats to it too, you know. And that's a result of people making a deal out of it. That's a result of people pushing. It just didn't happen because people were quiet. But the way we push and the way we speak is very important. So, you know, back what you do with the scriptures, back what you do with the sincere heart. You won't always be right. And then you will get some result. What they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. That's true even in our movement. When things change, it's because people make noise and they talk about it and they're not satisfied. But you know, according to the level of wisdom that you apply, you know, then you talk about it. I know I did the idea once. I gave a class in I think it was Vrindavan. And I was telling about women and children, that how, you know, this movement has not really lived up to what it should when it comes to caring for women and children. And the scriptures say that that is going to be a very negative reaction for those people. And so I think, you know, taking the scriptures, addressing the issue, having the proper desire for betterment, not just for me, when I interact with somebody, because Krishna actually has created all these scenarios. We're all in this big, huge drama, and we're all playing roles. And Krishna has created it so that we will do something. You know, if you look at all the stories, people made noise, they talked about things, that's how they changed. So I'm not one to say keep quiet and just keep going, but I do say, I think it's a biblical quote. It says, be wise as the serpent, but harmless as the dove. Be wise as the serpent. So, you know, a serpent is cunning and clever and wise, but when a serpent strikes, they want to hurt you or do something. So it's saying, have that wisdom, that cunningness, that cleverness, but don't have that poisonous mood that the serpent has. So, and I'm so grateful for a lot of you young people, because I think that you all are going to be the cause of a lot of changes. But just remember to back what you do with the science and be as respectful as you can. But, you know, Krishna is a fighter. This is none of Krishna's.
I wanted to beat to her.
None of Krishna's leaders, they were all revolutionaries. They shook the status quo. Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada, Bhakti Swami. So we come in a line of revolutionaries, and we should all kind of think ourselves as revolutionaries. Just make sure we have the science and the love, and then change will happen.
May I share something with Mother Krsnanandini? Because, yeah, just really quickly, because sometimes, you know, change of heart and action, those two words came out of that conversation for me just now.
Yes.
And, sometimes we think when action, when we study Bhagavad Gita and we learn about action and what action really means, oftentimes we think it has to be done in one way, which is when we think of fight, we think, okay, I have to be verbal, I have to address this in a way that can, bring this to the face of a person. But in my experience of being trained by Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, he's taught us so many different ways to act. Even Krishna and Arjuna, Krishna talked with Arjuna to teach him how to act. And so I want to just share this really quick story, and I'm going to go through it really quickly, just really quickly.
Please.
So I was in Mayapur a few years ago, and I've told this story before. And I was organizing Guru Maharaj's Vyasa Puja. And so all these devotees were gathered, and everybody was, there's a whole lot of people gathered there, a lot of senior devotees. And I was sitting in the front because I was the organizer, and I was calling all the people that were supposed to speak. And a sannyasi came in, and apparently there was not a seat for the sannyasi. So the sannyasi, I was the woman sitting in the front. The sannyasi came in my back and tapped me on the back, and he said, "Get up, get up." And I turned around, and I was like, at first I was stunned. I was shocked, because we just don't talk like that. But in any case, he did it maybe 3 times after that, because I was so I didn't, my reflex wasn't very fast. So he was like, I said, "Get up." So I looked at him and I said, "Well, Maharaj, I am organizing the program. And so I'm calling all the people. However, I will get somebody to give you a chair." I called one of the men. I told one of them, "Please get Maharaj a chair where he can sit and, let him sit." And then he said, "I also want to speak about Bhaktitirtha Maharaj." I said, "No problem. I'll put you on the list." And I put him on the list. And then after we were done with the program, I arranged for him to have a place to eat. I arranged for him to get served nicely. I arranged all of these things to let him know that I was not going to go to where he was at. I just was not going to do that because I have tools that has been given to me by my Guru Maharaj. And so I did that. And the program ended. And, I didn't see the Maharaj after that, but I knew in my heart I had done what my Guru Maharaj would have wanted me to do. I could have reacted, I could have acted in a different way, but I chose to act in the way my Guru Maharaj taught me. I saw him the next year in Mayapur, and he ran up to me. I mean, literally, I was walking. This Swami ran up to me. He hugged me from the back. And he came up to, he's a sannyasi, and he's coming to hold me in the back. And I was like, "Whoa, what's up? This is a Swami." And he said, "I just really want to thank you. I want to thank you for how you treated me last year." He said, "This year, I came to Mayapur and I took a leadership course. And that leadership course has changed my life." So sometimes people just are in ignorance, like you said. And if you deal with ignorance, it does not go anywhere, right? We need to know when to use the tools and how to use the tools and how we can really take people to another level of consciousness. That Swami became one of my best friends. I mean, I was scared that he really was going to hug me in Mayapur. That's how close he came to me, Yeah. And so I just want to say, action, of course, we're individuals. And so as individuals, we may choose to act in different ways. However, the goal of our acting, we need to check. What is the goal of my acting? And I know my Guru Maharaj, the goal he would have wanted was for me to connect with that person. It didn't happen right then, but it took 1 year and it happened. So I just wanted to share that, to give another
So much, Vajalila, for sharing that. That's a powerful, powerful example of what I was talking about when I say using wisdom and also to be able to be versatile, to strategize. This is a strategy type thing. What is going to be the most effective way to get the result that we want? And then we have to examine ourselves. What exact result do we want? Do we want revenge, or do we just really want a healthy communication and a fair treatment? So it's really, really good to do that. But strategy is so important, and using wisdom. And just like if someone comes to the temple and they're a new person and everybody is sort of ignoring them, then part of our leadership would be just to go and make that person somehow feel welcome. I mean, a simple thing like that, which has happened so many times in our experience, that somebody, maybe because of the color of their skin or gender or whatever, they went to a Hare Krishna gathering and didn't feel so welcome. But then it's our job to make them welcome. And that's an action that's positive as well.
Hare Krishna, Mother.
Hare Krishna, Shaima Vallabha.
I'm not going to go on and on. I don't know how your energy level is, but thank you very much for this today. Mother Rajalila, that was wonderful too. That was a great example, I think, to all of us of how we can deal with, especially other devotees, but people in general, and then help them to maybe reflect on their own. And actually that helps us too by not bringing us down. So thank you for that example. Krishna Kumari had a question and she couldn't really talk. And she says, how to respond to the various inclinations, for example, Kshatriya Vaishya, protectors mission. For example, Krishna asked Arjuna to fight. How would that apply to social injustices, race, gender, etc.?
It's interesting in the text that we read today from the Bhagavatam, the Prithu Maharaj was saying that a leader should teach his citizens about their varna and ashram. In other words, help. One of our problems in our society today is that we have people who are in roles of policemen and leaders who are not Kshatriyas, because Kshatriyas have certain qualifications and they're just things that they won't do. They're not cowards, for example. And, so this idea of understanding a person's particular propensities, their inclinations in life, someone who wants to protect others and lead others, then how do we develop it? And I think one of the things that Prabhupada wanted us to figure out, actually, was how do we address this idea of having people who serve that role as Kshatriyas, they're protectors, and they will fight, and sometimes they may have to use weapons, a real Kshatriya. So those are still things that we're kind of working on in terms of understanding what qualities, like the Bhagavad Gita gives the qualities of a Kshatriya, for example, or a Brahmin. Part of this is going to be discussion, interaction, study, prayer, to figure out how to do that, because the smaller communities that we're developing, for example, in New Vrindavan, Prabhupada told them to get people to act as Kshatriyas in New Vrindavan at one point because they were being attacked, or apparently attacked, from outside people. So I don't know if we have quite all the answers into how all that's going to work, but one thing for sure, we need some more righteous people in leadership, and that is across the board, In fact, there was one time when Prabhupada was kind of enthusiastic to support a devotee running for political office. But then when it became where that devotee was taking up too much time, and Prabhupada could see we hadn't progressed to where we should yet. So he said, table that. But just because he said table it didn't mean he never wanted it to happen, And as we mature as a society, we're going to need righteous representatives in our community. So I don't know if I can fully answer that question, Krishna Kumari, but I would say we're still working on it.
If I can jump quickly in here, we have 4 more questions, Mother. I'm just concerned if you have the energy to answer 4 more questions.
Thank you for that, Anasuya. Bless your heart, sweet. I can go about 8 more minutes.
Okay. So Vrinda, ask a question quickly.
Hare Krishna, Mother. Thank you so much for an amazing class. My question is, for someone who doesn't have experience in acting as a leader, how can we start off in acting as a leader?
Very good question, Brenda. Look at you, girl. So I would say, find people that you admire and trust and sort of model yourselves after them, and even ask them to mentor you. That's one thing. People that you admire, that you trust, that you feel are acting in a leadership capacity, whatever case that may be. And it could be your parents. And then ask them to specifically mentor you, and you follow and study that. Also, Brenda, reading the scriptures would be very helpful for that, because our scriptures are full of, well, they tell you what not to do and they tell you what to do. And a lot of the what to do shows the leadership that comes out. You know, the story of when Indra took the 99th horse from Prithu. Remember, and if he had done 100 horse sacrifice, he could qualify to be an Indra, although he didn't want to be Indra. But Indra was very envious of that, so he did everything he could to stop it. And in that story, there's so many jewels about leadership. And Krishna trusted Prithu to be a good leader, and he did. So I would say find mentors in your community and, follow in their footsteps, read the scriptures, and pray. Pray to Krishna. I'm a very strong advocate of prayer, because it's our way of conversing with God. And remember, he's a person. So according to our sincerity, he'll talk back. And a lot of you young people should really, prepare to be leaders, because we need to in Prabhupada's movement.
I'm going to jump. Sorry, Vrinda. I'm going to jump in. Sankalpa Mataji, I think you had your hand next after Vrinda. I don't know if she's still there. Sankalpa. Okay. We'll go to Jana next. Jana, can you ask your question, please?
So I'm on Jana's Zoom. Can you turn your sound? I'm on Jana's Zoom, so I'm the one that's asking the question.
Oh, David Kipriti is asking the question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering, Mother Krsnanandini, what is the best way how can we best understand when Krishna puts things in our lives that we don't know why? Like currently, like there's some devotees I know of that are passing away, and it's really, really hard for me. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you understand that and not be angry at Krishna that he's has a different path for some of these great devotees like yourself, and Prabhu. So I'm kind of struggling with how to deal with that.
Yeah, that's a very good question, sweetie. And because we're not rocks or dead inanimate objects, we have feelings, and we become attached, and we love people, and that's good. That's a very good thing. And our love for these people means that we want to be with them, we want to be around them, we don't want them to suffer, those kinds of things. So in general, the ones that are usually going through, and it's a kind of a test of whatever Krishna, they themselves, they're not angry with Krishna. In general, they themselves accept it. If you look at Bhakti Tirtha Swami, there was never when he thought, oh my God, Krishna, why are you doing this to me? I mean, we're human, but in general, he accepted it. So accepting it the way they accept it is one thing. And also, we're going to have to leave these material bodies. It's just the when and the how that causes a problem. And I think part of it is just understanding. We may never understand all the intricacies of how God does things, of how Krishna does things. But that's kind of where trust comes in, that Krishna, and you can talk to Krishna, Devaki, because Krishna's a person and he actually loves to have personal dealings. That's why he expanded himself so much into so many. That's because he wants to have all those different connections of love. And so you could say Krishna, because I know after Bhakti Tirtha Swami left his body, I was angry with Krishna. I was like, Krishna, that was wrong. I mean, I really did tell the Lord that. And so, but you know, you sometimes get angry with people you love, but you don't stop loving them. And then things become a little clear down the road. And you trust that they have the best plan. There's no better planner than God. And because we're so tiny and infinitesimal, we don't see all the full picture, you know. And so I would say to kind of be angry, be in your emotions about it. That's fine. Just don't stop respecting God and talk to him about it and have an exchange. And this is how you develop trust, Devaki, is that Krishna, I don't understand everything you're doing. And sometimes I'm upset with some of the things you do, but I trust that you are God and your love personified. And I'm just going to leave it like that. So I hope that helps me.
Mother, you have strength for one more question, the last one?
Yes, the last one.
Okay, Alicia, Ambika, go ahead.
Ambika.
Hare Krishna, Mother Krsnanandini. We don't really have a question.
I just wanted to thank you, Mother Krsnanandini, for sharing your journey with us, going back to your initiation, your diagnosis. When you were in India, you preached and told us how your progress was, and even now you're still giving out so much of your strength. And I really appreciate that, and hope to see much more of you. So, thank you for that.
And so before I get off, I'm going to sing a song that I used to sing to my children. Y'all know I can't leave without singing one song, right? It's called To Share Krishna with You. This is our real aim. Not caring much for worldly wealth or fame. So kindly chant with us his glorious and blissful name, and join the devotees of Krishna in the Prema game. The Prema game, that's the love of God game. There you go.
Thank you so much, Mother Krsnanandini. And I'm happy that you ended with a song, but I was hoping that you would sing a song.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mother. And again, thank you for giving your time. Thank you for really pushing your body to give us the association. And we really hope and we pray that we can get a little bit more of you as time goes, if allow. And we thank the devotees for participating and for being active and asking questions. And I hope everyone, and I'm sure everyone, enjoyed it as much as I did and even more. And
hallelujah.
Yes, Mother, please.
I forgot, real quick. Can one person share at least one thing that they'll take away from this class today? Anybody?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. This is Hare Krishna Das. Thank you so much for the nectar. One thing I would say I loved was thank you for reminding that chant every day in the morning as our life depends on it. Thank you so much for that reminder.
Okay, good. All right. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Hare Krishna.
Take care.
Mother, what I would like to share is when you were sharing about how you were sending this note to your neighbors with the Krishna greeting, the Assalamu Alaikum greeting, it reminded me of when I was growing up in a country with, multiracial, multi-religion, being Singapore, and, where the Hindus would observe Ramadan and the Muslims will observe Chinese New Year, and we all had a really good time. And yes, the country had, racism, casteism, classism, all the isms were there. And when I came here, it didn't change, and it was still that it was very difficult for me to actually adjust, because I come from a country where my CEO is a Muslim, and when I see him, I greet him Assalamu Alaikum, and he greets me Hare Krishna.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I have a Muslim CEO, and I appreciate, and half of my staff are, and I love them. And just by hearing you It's helping me to understand, to see Krishna's hands in everything.
Yes.
And how we can be the example
Yes.
for others. So I thank you for that, Mother.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
And
Krishna.
give my obeisance to Parikit.
Yes, he's outside mowing the lawn at the temple, but I'll let him know.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
No, no. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
May I share? May I share?
Yes. Yes, we hear you. Hare Krishna.
Who's speaking now? Oh, I hear a little voice.
Yeah, I think someone wants to share something.
Mother Jamba, go ahead.
Okay. When she said how to share the truth so that we all grow, I think is very important, because a lot of times we want to share the truth, but when you do it in a way that you're conscious that it should be a lesson, then you're very careful in terms of how you choose your words. So thank you for that and that reminder.
Anyone wants to go in next? I don't want to hold up Mother Krsnanandini too long. So we can roll with it, that would be great. I think Mataji left. She's tired. Okay, so I think Mother Krsnanandini left because she's definitely tired, because it's gone more than an hour and a half. Again, I want to thank all the devotees who came online. Thank you so much for joining us. We have devotees from New York, New Jersey, Gitanagri, Cleveland, Columbus, I don't know where else, Harrisburg, Reading, everywhere. So we thank devotees for joining us. Thank Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Alachua from Alachua.
Alachua, Hare Krishna. There we go, all the way down south. Wonderful. On the north side, thank you. On the south side. Ladini, where are you? In Philly?
Ladini.
Yeah, I'm in Philly.
Philly. Okay, so we got almost a good part of half of the what am I in? The continent or the country? Whatever. Look, I'm bad in geography. Period. I'm just bad in geography. That's it. So forgive me. But we could have the country on. So I appreciate every one of you being online. And we wish you all a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. And we hope to stay connected. And until then, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hari Bolo.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bolo.
Hari Bol, devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bolo. Bolo Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shama Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Good to see you, Mamina. I hope you enjoyed it. Hare Krishna. Good to see you, Ambika. It's been a long, long, long time.
I know. Too long.
Way too
long.
Way too long.
Hare Bol.
Hopefully next year.
It's only going to be next year, girlfriend. It ain't going to be this year.
I know. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for next year. I'm serious.
Hey.
And thanks for your class.
Thank you so much, Anastasia, for organizing this.
Krishna's arrangement, Guru's mercy, thank you for engaging me in your service. You know me, if I have no service, then I go crazy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but I'm scared to put that out now.
Fortunate.
Fortunate? Okay, I'll take it as a blessing.
Yes, it's a blessing.
Well, at least we get to see each other and talk.
Yes, it's wonderful. It is. It is.
Everybody.
Wonderful.
You, Jambavati, Mother Rajalila, Shintamini, it's really nice.
This whole weekend, actually.
Yeah, wonderful, right?
Yes.
Whole weekend.
Anasuya,
Yes, mother.
I was appreciating when you told me that you are inviting a lot of the Prabhupada disciples on this program on Sundays because the Prabhupada disciples are leaving their bodies and you are seeing it as a service to engage them. And I really appreciated that kind of compassion that you're thinking in a way of engaging devotees because they're leaving their bodies. It's pretty far out. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, mother. Thank you. I guess I'm being greedy in a selfish way. I am definitely in the mode of in a selfish way, trying to see how much I can get mercy from such senior stalwart devotees of Srila Prabhupada, that I just want to hear more and more because I'm just being selfish. I said, well, let me add more selfishness to bring more devotees on to join my bandwagon of greediness.
Nice.
Thank you, mother. Thank you. I can't leave. I have to be the last one to leave. So you guys can leave whenever you want to leave. No. I'm not saying you have to leave, but I'm just saying is I cannot leave because you all are my guests. I have to stay on. But thank you all for joining, really. Thank you. I think it was really nice.
On last Sunday, we stayed like that for 3 hours, right?
You know what happened last Sunday? So we had Giriraj Swami. Giriraj Swami gave the class because it was California time. So he came on at 8 o'clock Eastern time. The class was done by 9:30. Devotees didn't want to leave. And he went on for another 15 minutes. Devotees didn't want to leave. He chanted with us till 11:30 at night. 11:30 p.m. And then he says, Anasuya Devi Dasi, I have to leave. I said, Maharaj, we will not leave if you leave. So he had to leave. And all the other devotees left. And myself and Dear Krishna were the last ones on. It happened last Sunday too. But just to give you guys a heads up, next Sunday, we have Chandrasekhar Swami giving class. So he's also on there. So yeah, we've had, Krishna has been really, really kind to us actually for the past 2.5 months. We've had every Sunday, just proper disciples giving classes. And I never expected such mercy because, I didn't even know who would even respond to this crazy woman called Anasuya. Like, who the hell is she? Forget my language. But I said, who's going to, but Krishna, Gurudev was kind, Krishna was kind that they responded and we got their mercy because I was greedy in a selfish way, not in a selfless way. But yeah, thank you though. It was nice. I enjoyed this.
Ultimately, Krishna knows what we all need in hearing.
Yes, mother. Hearing. Shravanam Kirtam Vishnu Smaranam. Yeah. But I am definitely enjoying all this wonderful association from such senior proper disciples. So yes, thank you so much for joining. And we hope to see more of you online. And as we get more classes coming online, I will definitely share with all of you for sure. Good to see you on Beak. It's been ages. I feel like I haven't seen you for like 10 years now. You're on mute, Baba.
Oh God, I've been making so many mistakes on these Zoom calls. I'm sorry.
Join the club, kid. Me too.
I'm still learning.
It's too high tech for me. I can't handle it.
Too much. I was forced to learn. I was forced.
Yeah, I have my kids. I said, no, you push the buttons and you just get me on. I don't care what you do.
Exactly.
I'm glad that you said that, Ambika, because I sent you a private message when we began, and I thought, did she get it? Did she see it? I kept thinking that. So there's a service that I'm wanting to connect with you for. So please look in the private chat. In the private part of the chat, my phone numbers are there. If you just go.
Okay.
Do you know how to do that, Ambika? You better call your daughter.
I'm saying if we disconnect, would I still see it?
No, you won't see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me.
So,
all right, let me look at it now.
Yeah, Ambika, in the bottom of the bar on that Zoom screen, in the bottom, if you hover your mouse, you'll see a thing that says chat. You click on that chat and you should see a private message sent to you from Mother Rajalila, just for you, and it'll say your name and privately. Now, if Mother Rajalila can do it, come on, girl.
Hey, tell her.
Look, Mother, I had